Welcome back, everyone. As you probably guessed from the title of the video as well as the thumbnail, this is the firearm that we are going over today. This is the Generation 5 Glock 45 MOS. I've actually had this gun in now for about 2 years. It was initially sent out by the folks at Brownells for this review, so big thanks to them for sending it out for the video. And for those of you guys who have been watching the channel for a while, you guys have seen this gun a lot. I've used this as the host gun for probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 different optics tests so far since we've had it in, and we have a very high round count on this gun relative to what I normally do here for reviews. Typically for reviews, we bring the guns to you anywhere between 500 and 1,000 rounds, but this gun right now is over 3,000 rounds just because we've been using it again as a host for a bunch of other reviews, and I actually planned on doing a 5,000 round review of this particular firearm. But as many of you guys know, the Gen 5 Glocks are going away within about a month of when I'm filming this video. So I decided to get the review up for folks who are sort of on the fence, debating whether or not they want to pick one up. So here we are with the review a little bit early. So I suppose with that, for some semblance of order, going over the gun, we'll start here at the bottom and then sort of work our way forward like we typically do. So the gun does come with 3 magazines. That is one nice thing about the Glock pistols, the Gen 5s that is. And we've been using a ton of different magazines through it, both factory Glock as well. Here we have the X-Tech, and we've also used Magpul P-Mags, the newer generation, if you will, of them, and had no issues at all with any sort of magazines. So that certainly is good. One of the benefits about Glocks for sure is magazine compatibility, and I should say this because again in about 30 days this gun will be discontinued, but the B series Glocks will take the same mags, which certainly is a good thing going forward. Continuing on to the actual frame itself, Gen 5 Glocks have a little bit of a flare there at the magazine wall, which I like personally. It helps you obviously guide the magazine into the gun. Additionally, it also gives you some room there, both at the front and the back, to grip and rip the magazine should you have a double feed. That way you can get it out forcefully, which I do dig. The gun comes with 2 different back straps. So right now we have the large one on there. There's also one that's a little bit larger than this one, but I have fairly large hands, and that one allows me to do a couple things. But the biggest thing that I really like about it is it gives me some space there on the gun that I can fill in there with my support hand. That said, if you have smaller hands, using it without the back strap certainly is nice. And if you have gigantic hands, like if you're like 6'5", 6'6", something like that, there actually is a larger one that you can stick on there. That said, again, one of the beauties of the Glock platform is there is so much aftermarket support for it. If you needed something specific to your hand, they make them. They make these little half ones that a lot of folks like. If you use those that are sort of cut off right here, it kind of mimics the 1911 grip angle that a lot of folks like. Again, with Glocks, you can kind of set them up how you want to. Grip texture on the Gen 5s is pretty darn good. I have no issues with it. One thing I like is it has the same grip texture on the front and the back strap, which really, that is the important part, as I have said many times here on the channel, because under recoil, that is what the gun wants to do. So those are the 2 most important areas on the gun to have grip texture. That said, if they were ever to make a Gen 6, which from what I understand they're planning on doing, I would like the grip texture to go up a little bit higher. I do think that would help, particularly with the support hand, having a little bit more traction on the gun. Hitting up, again, the magazine release is going to be left side only from the factory. That said, it is swappable, so you can switch it out to the right-hand side of the gun. For you lefties out there, it is not ambidextrous. That is my personal preference. And the magazines absolutely do drop free on this gun with any brand that we have used to date. The mag pulls are a little bit stiffer in there, but they still drop free just fine. So I do dig that. As you guys can see there with this particular back strap, it has a nice beaver tail on there. Once again, for folks that have issues with slide bite, you're just not going to have it there with this gun. Continuing forward, the slide release and the slide lock is typical Glock in the respect that the finish is absolutely coming off. I don't know what it is about Glocks, but since the Gen 4s, they have not been able to make a finish that will last on their slide release and slide lock. Glock, of course, calls these a slide lock, not a slide release. I will let you guys debate that down below in the comment section, but of course it's ambidextrous. It actually works from both sides, unlike a lot of different ambi slide releases, as you guys can see there. Continuing forward to the trigger, Gen 5 trigger, not a whole lot to write home about. We will zoom in here for you and let you guys take a look at it. We do have the trigger safety there, which is nice. So that way, if you pull as hard as you want without engaging the trigger safety, it will not fire. For those who are new here, the Glock has multiple safeties. That is one of them. Additionally, there's also a striker safety on the inside that prevents the firing pin, or the striker in this case, from going forward unless that pin is moved out of the way, which happens with the trigger. Now the trigger itself is mushy, as you would expect from a Glock. It's kind of a two-stage trigger, not that they would call it that, but you get to sort of a false wall here, and then you pull a little bit more and it kind of rolls through. It does break right around 5.5 pounds, and the reset, phenomenal. Glock resets are some of the best out there in the game. The pull might not be the best, but the reset is up there with the best for sure. Again, we're back on the wall. Great. Reset. What I always say about Glock triggers is if you can't shoot a Glock well because of the trigger, then you just can't shoot well. A lot of folks out there are used to their 2011, 1911, or even like a Walther PDP, something like that trigger. All of those 100% unequivocally are better triggers. That said, the Glock trigger is perfectly fine. There are people out there who are shooting competition at the highest levels with factory Glock triggers, so it absolutely is doable if you do your part as the shooter. Continuing on up there, we do have an undercut on the trigger guard. That said, a lot of people, aftermarket wise, will put a double undercut on there as well to get a little bit higher with their support hand. I don't have a problem with it personally. I guess it is user preference at that point. And then additionally, on the front of the trigger guard there, we do have some serrations for folks who like to shoot like that. If that is you, then you are in luck because you are able to do so with some traction with the Gen 5 Glocks. Continuing out front there, we do have a single rail slot there for a light laser accessory. Throughout this testing, we've also been doing a number of light tests with this gun, and you guys have probably seen a few throughout this video so far. It is a 1913 spec rail slot, so that is new. The previous generations of Glocks, the Gen 3s and the Gen 4s, had a Glock-specific rail insert. This one does not, so it's more universal in that way. I definitely do dig that. Of course, one of the things about the Glock 45 in general is that the frame is going to be roughly a Glock 17 or Glock 47 size. And then out front, of course, the slide as well as the dust cover are 19 size. So you have a shorter slide mass and a shorter dust cover. And I think it looks perfectly fine, but some folks out there prefer a shorter dust cover and a longer slide. If that is you, go with the 47. Me personally, I prefer the shorter slide and the shorter, or the smaller rather, amount of slide mass that is recoiling. I suppose with that, that's one of the reasons that I recommend this gun so often, as well as the 19X. So let's kind of dive into that rabbit hole. With a longer slide, typically, as well as more slide mass, the recoil impulse will feel a little bit slower, but a little bit softer, if that makes sense. With a shorter slide like we have here, like sort of a commander size, if you will, the recoil is a little bit snappier, but it's also a little bit snappier to get back onto target. Me personally, this is my preference. That said, once again, there are phenomenal shooters that prefer the longer slide mass and the other recoil impulse. So I suppose it's just a preference point. But as the years have evolved, I have grown to like this one personally. Again, up to you guys whether or not that is what you prefer. Continuing on up to the slide, we do have the Gen 5 finish on there, which has been very durable. Of course, the Gen 3s came out and they had their world famous, if you will, were Tennifer finish, and then the Gen 4s came out. They had a little bit slightly rather grayer finish that a lot of folks didn't like, and then the Gen 5s had that nice black deep finish as well. I have no issues with it at all. This one, of course, has the forward serration, so that way if you want to manipulate your slide like that, you can. Particularly useful when you are running an optic. Moving on to the sights there, of course, Glock comes with the plastic trash sights that absolutely no one should accept from Glock, but people keep buying them with those plastic sights on there. That said, once again, the aftermarket support with Glocks is phenomenal. We have our XS sights on there. These ones are co-witness height. Now, again, you can set them up however you want. The ones that come from the factory, though, are not co-witness height, which again is a con on the gun, in my opinion. If you're going to have an optics-ready gun, you should have optics-ready sights. That's my opinion. Again, I know some folks prefer the other way, so we will leave that up to you guys. But the XS sights are fantastic. I'm a big fan of that. We have the blacked out square notch rear and then the tritium front there that draws your eye right into it. And then another thing that's really nice about Glocks, of course, is going to be holster compatibility, like we talked about with the aftermarket. Now, with that, we do have this holster here from G-Code that we have been running. And the folks at G-Code actually stepped up to sponsor this video, so we definitely want to thank them for that. Not only do they make holsters, they make a ton of other stuff, soft goods, belts, placards, plate carriers, and they also have their system that many of you guys probably know them for, which is a system that sort of snaps in, and it's kind of a universal system. You can use it on a chest carry, you can use it on a drop leg holster, all of those things. But this one is their concealed carry holster. And of course, it has that nice soft finish on there. Doesn't feel like cold plastic against your skin. That certainly is something I like. Has a nice flush fit there on the side. And then we've been pairing it with this belt as well. We've been running this one for weeks now. It is very durable, very strong. It is a multi-layer, as you guys can see there. Has the nice clip there up front for quick on and off. And of course, it snaps right back in. Once you get used to these types of Cobra belts or Cobra buckles, it's hard to go back to a normal belt. Now, one thing that is nice for the audience with them coming on to sponsor this video is that there will be a 10% discount code on everything over at their website that you guys should see here on your screen. Everything over there at G-Code is made in America, top-notch stuff. I've never had a single G-Code product that I wasn't very happy with. So once again, thank you to them for sponsoring the video. Now, continuing back on to the actual firearm itself, we will draw it from that holster and take a look at the barrel itself. Barrel on the Gen 5 Glocks is their marksman barrel. They're excellent. What the marksman barrel is essentially they changed up their polygonal rifling that they have traditionally had on the Glocks, and they kind of made a hybrid polygonal as well as traditional button rifle barrel. People are going to argue about that down below in the comments section about what it actually is. Is it traditional? Is it polygonal? Feel free to argue, but it sort of is a hybrid, and they're phenomenally accurate. One thing I will say, and I've said many times in the comments of my videos on Glocks, is that if you can't tell the difference between a Gen 3 Glock barrel, for example, and a Gen 5 Glock marksman barrel in terms of accuracy, there's absolutely no need in you updating your barrel or upgrading it with a matched barrel because you just simply can't shoot well enough to notice the difference, because these barrels, the Gen 5 marksman barrels, are rather as accurate as any gun out there on the market. These things shoot phenomenally, and I have no issues with it at all. Of course, it has a nice wide feed ramp for feeding hollow points, and we fed a bunch of different hollow points through this pistol throughout this review. Predominantly the 147 grain Fiocchis with that nice wide hollow point bullet that they do have, because it is a subsonic projectile. Then we also fired a bunch of 124 grain Sig Sauer Elite through it. Again, zero issues at all with hollow points, which is exactly what you would expect. We're gonna see how it does with some hollow points. We have some 147 grain Fiocchi from folks over at Firearms Depot. Ran them just fine. Continuing on back, we have the MOS system. MOS system is average at best in terms of an optics mounting system, in my opinion. It does rely on a plate. Now, from the factory, it comes with an RMR plate. On there right now, we actually have a Vortex plate, which takes the delta point pattern. And then we have, of course, the Sig Sauer optic on there that we are testing. You guys will see that in future videos. We're going to drop it. But one thing that is nice about the MOS system is that there are plates available for any type of optic that you want out there. Whatever the pattern is, there is a plate for the MOS system. Again, the downside is that it is a plate system, so it is an additional point of failure because, of course, you're bolting the plate into the slide and then the optic into the plate. So again, one of those screws or two of those screws come loose and you're going to have a bad day. But all in all, the MOS system is fine for 99% of people out there on the market. And with that, I think we've gone over all of the important features of the gun with a few exceptions. Number one is going to be reliability. Number two is going to be price point. So reliability on this gun, like I said, has been phenomenal through thousands of rounds. We've had zero malfunctions of any kind. The vast majority of the ammo we've put through it has been 124 grain blazer brass. We put some Minuteman munitions 124 grain through it as well as some MagTech 115 grain, and then the hollow point rounds that we talked about earlier. Again, zero malfunctions of any kind. When I got it in, I lubricated it and didn't clean it until I actually shot the B-roll for this video. So again, durability, reliability, it's been phenomenal. Absolutely no complaints at all with that. Price point on this one, like I said, this one came in from Brownells. The MSRP on the optics ready version of this gun, which of course is what we have here, is 620 units of measure. Now we can't say price point on YouTube, but that is relatively expensive for a gun that is going to come with the features that this gun has. So there's a lot of competitive options that are going to have way better features from the factory, like for example, not having plastic sights, having a better trigger, perhaps having better ergonomics, all of those sorts of things. But Glock has a proven track record. So if that's something you care about, then hey, it definitely is a gun I would recommend if, again, it meets what you're looking for in terms of price point and performance. Again, as we mentioned earlier in the video though, these things will stop shipping as of right now anyway on November 30th, and then the V series will be out, and the jury's out on the V series as to how it will perform, durability, reliability. It's going to have to start from scratch, so we will see. But in the interim, if this is something that you're interested in, again, I'd probably pick it up in the short term, or maybe if you guys are watching this years from now, maybe a used one. But I do recommend it. It's a quality gun for sure. There's just a few things that I would improve on it, like I would with just about every Glock. But honestly, in terms of performance, it's up there with the best Glocks ever made, in my opinion. The Glock 45 MOS and then the 19X MOS, probably my two favorite Glocks ever made. If I had to pick one, I'd probably pick the 45 performance-wise, and the reason for that, the only big difference is more magazines are compatible with the 45 than they are with the 19X. The 19X has a different mag well, for those who don't know. But all in all, I would feel very, very comfortable trusting my life with either of the guns. So I suppose with that, that's pretty much all I have on the firearm itself. If you guys have any questions about anything we talked about today, feel free to post those down below in the comment section. If you guys have comments on the V series, let us know what you think it's going to be down below as well. Again, big thanks to Brownells, G-Code, and the folks at Firearms Depot who provided a lot of the ammo that we've used throughout this video for helping make the videos possible. We definitely appreciate that. If you guys like what you saw here with this review, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you've done that on YouTube and Rumble and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel. Make sure you sign up for the email at the website here on your screen. This will get you put on 2 different email lists. One of them goes out once a month, and it has all the videos since the previous month's email went out, so that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content via an algorithm. Additionally, it'll get you put on the daily deals email. As the name indicates, it goes out every day, and it typically has 8 to 10 of the best deals that we find around the internet, whether it be on lights, guns, ammo, optics, lasers, whatever the case may be, holsters. If the item, whatever the item is in the email on a given day, it's the cheapest I know of for that item on that day, so that way it saves you guys some money and hopefully saves you some time as well. There's also a good meme in there that a lot of people like, so if you just want to see a Pro 2A meme in your inbox every day, you can sign up for it just for that. Lastly, we do have an SMS service, and the SMS service that you can sign up for here by texting GEAR to the code on your screen, or you can just go to the website and sign up the old-fashioned way. Either way works for me. That goes out at most once a day, and it typically has one of 2 things in there, either a smoking deal that very likely will sell out like right now, as of these things are in their final days of shipping. If this comes in at a good price, it's going to go out in the daily deals email, because it's going to sell out very, very quickly. Additionally, the other thing we'll put in there is new videos, so that way, once again, we can get around the algorithmic censorship and let you guys actually see my content. And with that, that's pretty much all I have. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.